I have a graveyard shift, so we need to final part. Let's get back to the topic of unlocking youth opportunities. I think that is the big thing that we're trying to solve. If we simplify unlocking youth opportunities, I think it's important for us to solve a problem. Okay, so we have access to all this knowledge, but in order to create value or in order to create an opportunity, we need to solve some sort of problem. And we are very privileged to be in an area where we have a lot of problems in Africa. So it's really about how do you convert these sustainability and social problems into opportunities. I used to be a director of a Stellenbosch Technology Center at Stellenbosch University. And we started a project called the Building Blocks Initiative, and it was really about getting engineers to solve social and sustainability issues. It was really about getting technology out there to ensure basic needs and basic services. And it was really about getting your hands dirty. I was recently up now in Ugrabis. I just arrived last week, and one of the challenges that we have there, for example, was I was showering and I didn't have any water in my shower and my tap. It was a basic thing, but it was something that had to be fixed. It was a problem that had to be fixed. And I had about 8 interns with me, all coming through different universities or different universities, technology, etc. And I said to them, guys, you're all coming from an agriculture field and you're all doing your internship with me. We need to go and fix these pipes. And they were all looking at me, and no one knew how to fix the pipe. Okay, it was a basic skill, and everyone was on their phone, ChatGPT, and looking at how we can fix pipes, but nobody was really knowing how to apply the necessary skills to fix that pipe. Okay, so there's a lot of these issues around the country that creates a lot of opportunities for youth if we have the right skills. And that is where the idea of the Institute for Technology, if it's AI, IoT, a biochar maker, a bread making machine, a solar cooker, all these type of technologies that is available. How do we implement it? How do we apply it? How do we use it? And that was the idea where it was born, the Institute for Technology and Society. I resigned as a professor and I started getting my hands dirty. And we've created this entity whereby we are using work-integrated learning and commercializing these technologies and implementing them to ensure basic needs and basic services. If we look from a university perspective, just as an example, a typical department's got 500 students. Out of that, you've got about 150 students per year. And what is interesting about that is that your throughput rate, that means if you are starting now and finishing in 3 years, it's sitting around 30%. Okay, and the biggest challenge with, for example, for University of Technologies is that is mainly because they don't get a place to go and do their work-integrated learning. Another interesting factor of that is, remember now, throughput at universities and developing the necessary skills has got a throughput of 30% from starting, so it's not efficient at all. Another important point is that 95% of these students with a very inefficient process gets funded by NSFAS. They can't fund themselves. Okay? From an industry perspective, they really need a skilled and globally competitive workforce. And we realize that there's a nice opportunity for work-integrated learning whereby students can get involved in sustainability and social initiatives like we are playing in food security, whereby these guys are getting opportunity to get work-integrated learning. They are involved in commercializing technologies, and at the same time they earn salaries to actually repay their tuition. So that is a solution that emerged, and that is what we are working on. And we really saw that Sustainable development can really be the inspiration or the source for opportunity, innovation, and competitive advantage. If you do the horizon scanning and you look at the different risks that's there, if you look at the sustainability reports, ESG reporting, etc., there's a lot of these challenges like food security, governance, water security, carbon sequestration, and all these things that becomes an inspiration for innovation and global competitiveness, and it creates an opportunity whereby students from various universities can get involved in these initiatives and get an opportunity for work integrated learning, whereby they can complete their own studies or they can start their own business. We've created a knowledge center, which is the Net Zero Nexus NPC. This is a place where we identify the latest and greatest food, energy, water, waste management technologies. And we've got an annual conference and center of excellence. And then we've got the institute, which is a project center. That's really driving, 100% owned by the NPC, but that's really driving these strategic initiatives like food security. We are driving a strategic initiative called Food Factories Work, whereby we are we are really revolutionizing food security within local communities. But it's not only food security, it's about making compost. It's about learning about different food elements, about marketing and branding, etc., etc. With this, we get a bunch of specialists in the room like we're having here. Thanks, Dr. Harlem. And we really get these multi-stakeholder partnerships working together to solve the sustainability challenges that we have. So we really drive SDG number 17. We've got an innovation platform whereby we are presenting the latest, greatest technologies that can work and that can be multiplied in different communities. We've got a Future Leaders Academy whereby students from various universities, typically internships, exchange students, all of them get involved in projects. And we've created a donor-advised fund whereby we are funding these projects that makes commercial sense. I mean, if you, coming back to my point, if you really want to unlock youth opportunities, you need to solve basic needs, basic services, problems. If you solve these problems, there will always be money. Okay, so investment will be always there if you can solve a problem. It's important to really reframe that. From a university perspective, you've got community engagement that's important, research, typical basic research happens within universities, and you've got your teaching and learning elements. And from a trade and industry perspective, you've got your ESG and sustainability that's important. You need to drive stability and profits within communities, and you've got your growth and investments. And we realize that there's a really nice opportunity to drive these strategic initiatives, strategic projects, and also professional development. By doing that, we are able to get the students and the people. We can really drive the people development, but also we can commercialize and develop the commercial recipes for various types of technologies. I'm talking about a clean cooking stove or a biochar maker or a water filtration system. We've got a nice space where we can convert these technologies into a product or a service, and most of them can go into industry and market where we can become global competitive. We've recently incubated, for example, a clean cooking stove that is now currently being developed and sent out into various places in Africa. Not just for carbon sequestration, not just for making pellets, but also for taking out smoke within people's communities in various areas, and people are not chopping down trees anymore. This is typically how the innovation platform looks like. People are coming with their various technologies, we showcase them, we start putting them together. Here's different technologies that we've developed with regards to food production, house production, energy. That's where you can start seeing Energy Africa is one of the companies that we worked with. Biomass production, we do rehabilitation of mining companies, and then obviously waste production as well. So it's just to give you a few examples within the Nexus spectrum whereby you are taking sustainability and social issues and really start driving innovation. We've got a unique technology transfer mechanism where we are working with universities with basic research and development. From that, we are taking this into pilot studies with applied R&D. That's where we start doing the circular economy certification, and we drive large-scale projects whereby we have commercial operations, but we are also doing technology transfer. Typically, our interns and our students coming from various universities come and spend time in the Future Leaders Academy. They come and get involved in R&D projects as interns, students exchange, etc. We do research and development, like I said. You can look at the latest, greatest in terms of food security. We do technology transfer. We get municipalities, part of the mining's SLP, showcasing and demonstrating the various things that we can do. We're really measuring our success. Obviously, we need to link to ESG reporting, but you can measure our success. We've been very successful. This is a lady that I've been working with in Eastern Cape. She's been the most successful smallholder farmer. She's also been the best in terms of agro-processing, Zola James, and we've won the prize from the Minister for the best agro-processing, and this is all part of our food security initiative, which I wanted to show you. But it was able with the multi-stakeholder partnerships, and it wasn't a one person alone. It was really about getting different people to work together within a strategic initiative whereby we are solving these complex issues. Thank you so much.